Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Kai'Sa updated complete guide for the latest patch 6.2e. Now we didn't actually manage to cover patch 6.2e, the patch notes breakdown I should say, because I was a little under the weather, when the patch notes came out. I was running a fever and pretty much couldn't make a video on it, right? But quite a number of balance changes happened there. Either which way, we're now going to cover Kai'Sa and her latest build. So pretty much nothing has really changed from patch 6.1x to currently. There was, of course, a crit build that was pretty popular when the Bloodthirster item was very strong, but even so, the on-hit build was still pretty popular as well, and pretty much this is still the best build for Kai'Sa. Taking a look at the top players, you do have crit builds coming out from the number 2 and number 3 player. However, I still think the most consistent way to go is to go for the on-hit build. In fact, the people here are not actually building Runan, so it's pretty interesting. Of course, I have played Crit Kai'Sa a little bit as well, and of course, I will be making a video on that one sooner or later. But let's talk about the on-hit build today. So first up, we're going to rush Terminus. Now, Terminus is, of course, an item that gives Kai'Sa both AD and AP, as not AD and AP, AD and attack speed, as well as AP on hit, or rather magic damage on hit. And then, of course, you get the stacking resistances and stacking penetrations. And, of course, you want to rush this to get your Q evolve as quickly as you can. Then, I normally like to go for defensive boots, so either played at steel caps or merc treads. Normally, it's going to be played at steel caps as the second item, which is, of course, the boots. But if there's a very even mix of AD and AP damage on the enemy team, you can go for the Gluttonous Greaves. But more often than not, the enemy team is normally AD heavy, so normally I like to go for the steel caps. Then, Runans as your next item. Of course, this will give you your next evolve, but more importantly, of course, it does allow you to attack 3 people at the same time and allows you to, of course, proc your passive onto multiple people at the same time. So then, next item you can go for is going to be Blade of the Rune King. Of course, current health on hit damage as well as physical vamp. Also, just pretty nice stats. A little bit of AD, a little bit of attack speed. You can also go for Wit's End here if the enemy team is very, very AP heavy. Now, it's very rare that that's the case, but sometimes they are. And in those cases where they have like 3 or 4 AP champions, Wit's End here is going to be very good, combined with Merc Treads earlier on. And then, of course, you have Riftmaker here. Riftmaker gives you Omnivamp as well as giving you true damage, so very good damage profile, as well as some pretty good stats. Now, final item is normally going to be defensive, so normally we're going to go for Twin Guard. And then, Runes is going to be a standard ADC loadout, and the spells is normally going to be Flash and Cleanse. Now, I do notice Ghost is pretty popular as well. ADC Ghost and Exhaust pretty popular as well. Now, Ghost I don't think is a very good option, but Exhaust is a pretty good option if you don't need Cleanse and, if the situation calls for it. But with all that said, now let's take a look at the gameplay itself. Alright, so let's take a look at the gameplay, but before we get too deep into it, of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Of course, I will be sure to address them. So let's talk a little bit about Kai'Sa in the meta right now. Now, I think Kai'Sa as a champion hasn't really changed for a very long time. She's generally untouched by patch notes for the most part and rarely gets adjusted. However, her power level does change, right? So I think there was a point she was like top 3 ADC, but now currently I think she's kind of middle of the pack, right? Like she's not bad, right? She's still a decent carry and still does decently well. However, she's not like the top couple of ADCs, probably not top 5 ADCs, right? Just off the top of my head, if I were to think of like the who are probably the best ADCs right now, probably it'll be something like Corki, Varus, Xayah probably are the top couple. Just off the top of my head. But yeah, I think Kai'Sa somewhere in the middle of the pack, maybe bottom of maybe not bottom of S tier, maybe top of A plus tier is probably where I will put her. Of course, I haven't yet done a tier list for this patch. And here you can see in the early stages of the game, somehow the Rakan and Varus manages to take a lot of free damage from us, and they actually get chunked out completely. And Varus is now kind of stuck under his tower. Now, this is actually very rare, because Varus is actually a lot stronger than Kai'Sa in laning phase. So, it's not a very common thing that you shove the Varus Rakan under tower as a Kai'Sa Nami. Rakan tries to go in and trade a little bit with Nami, doesn't really get a very amazing trade. Here the mini wave is kind of stacking up. Varus is taking a little bit of auto damage from me, and he's not having a good time. But generally, Kai'Sa in lane is not very strong, just because it's very hard to get isolated damage on your Q when you're in lane, right? Because there's a lot of these minions lying around, and it's really hard to get isolated Q damage. Here, Rakan gets his back disrupted. Varus doesn't really care, just goes back anyway. Rakan, of course, was not low enough for us to kill, but we do chunk him out and waste a little bit of his time. And he's probably going to reset immediately after. Actually, he doesn't. He's actually still under tower, which is pretty interesting. So here we get a reset, we get the BF Straw, which is a pretty decent spike, gives you 40 AD, which is basically as much as boots, right? So Varus is not yet able to complete his boots, so we are definitely at an advantage here. Of course, we already were. Now, Rakan is probably trying to back right now, so I actually launch a blind W here, just like towards his general direction, and he actually hits him just through pure luck. I mean, of course, the skill involved there was launching the W in the first place to disrupt his back, but of course the luck portion of that was that I didn't know exactly where he was standing, so I just made a guess as to around where he would be, and it actually hit him, so that was pretty nice. So Rakan's tempo completely ruined. Varus now stuck alone under the tower. We get a nice trade onto him, although he trades almost even there. I don't think Rakan actually hit me with the W there, but I cleansed because I thought it was actually going to hit. Vi now comes in, very questionable gank from Vi because they're basically under the tower at this point, so I don't think Vi can really get anything done. Rakan jumps in. If Vi was paying attention, she could have ulted him there before he jumped back, and we might have been able to burst him down with the three of us together and some chain CC. However, it doesn't really happen. Now, Vi is still kind of semi around the area, and Nami's pretty low, kind of baiting a little bit. Vi is on the way again. Here you can see Rakan flashes in. Now, this is a very, very awkward situation, because basically Rakan kills Nami. Vi focuses Varus, who's behind, and I'm focusing Rakan, who's in front. Because my logic was, let's just get the free kill on Rakan, right? He's all the way in front already, he can't get out, so let's just kill him. But Vi's logic is, let's get the more valuable person, which is the Varus, right? So she ults the Varus, and she goes in on the Varus. And we basically both just end up focusing different targets. Now I did think to ult and try to kill the Varus, but he was inside the minion wave, right? So once again, going back to the problem with Kai'Sa in lane, Kai'Sa is not very good at killing people in lane because of the minions, and it basically reduces your Q damage tremendously, so I couldn't really ult Varus and kill him, simply because I wouldn't have the damage to do so. So the only person I could focus was Rakan, who isolated himself by jumping forward, but since Vi wasn't focusing the same target as me, nobody ends up dying except for Vi and Nami on our team, which is obviously not what we want. So here we get the plate. Viego is coming in, I flash away, Nami bubbles Viego, and we're able to get out, but we do have to blow our flash. So here now, Ahri is now here for what looks like a gank, while her tower is getting destroyed by Victor. Now Ahri comes in with the charm. Now here, Rakan actually has the mark on him, so this allows me to ult behind onto the Varus and kill the Varus. However, now I'm running into a Victor, so there's no real way I'm getting out here. I know I'm gonna die, and I do end up dying to Viego. So now it's kind of a good time to kind of talk about Kai'Sa's supports, right? So Kai'Sa generally wants to play with an engaged support because this will allow them to put the passive marks for you, as well as, of course, engage for you, which then allows you to follow up with your ulti, jump in, and follow up on their engage very easily and assassinate people. However, certain enchanter supports with CC are still okay, so somebody like Nami, who has the bubble and the wave, is still kind of alright. Not the most ideal, but if there were to be an enchanter to support Kai'Sa, I think Nami is pretty good. Of course, being a hyper carry, something like a Yuumi, a Melio, or a Lulu could work, but I do think engagers are generally better than enchanters when it comes to supporting Kai'Sa. So now Victor has rotated to bot. I'm now just clearing the wave here.
The Enchanted Ensemble and Mountain Dragon have spawned.
And there we disrupt his back at the last minute just for a little bit of annoyance, as well as of course ruining his tempo. Enemy team is taking the dragon here, so not much we can do to contest. Vi is trading it for the Herald. We get a little bit of free damage onto Rakan, but nothing much is going to come of it because we can't really go in on him.
The Enchanted Ensemble has been summoned in the top
Now, even after the nerfs, I actually think Varus is one of the best ADCs at the moment. I still think he's really, really strong, so definitely not someone you kind of want to mess with. Now here, I'm just getting chain CC'd. I cleanse out, I try to ult out, but unfortunately, I still end up going down because, yep, I cleansed out of, like, I think it was Rakan CC, then I got hit by Varus ulti, so there's not much I can do to escape there. A little bit too far up in terms of positioning, so that was not too great. So in this particular game, I actually go for Merc Treads, and the reason why I'm going for Merc Treads is because at this point, you can see that we have AP on Victor. Varus is building AP because AP is basically Varus' best build right now. And I actually, as promised in my Varus video 2 days ago, I actually did try the full AP Varus, going for Nashor's Tooth first into Runans and then into, I believe it's Riftmaker. And I do think it's actually the best build for Varus. I will be definitely making a video about that in the coming days. But this basically makes Varus a lot of AP damage as well. Now Rakan, at the time that I bought the Magic with his boots, looked like he was going to build like a full AP build because he had the mana boots and then into the Prophet's Pendant. But it turns out he's now actually just building a Imperial Mandate, which of course still gives AP, but definitely not as scary as going for something like a Oblivion Orb. Not Oblivion Orb, Infinity Orb, or something like that. So a lot of AP on the enemy team, basically 3 AP champions. I decided to go for the Magic Wizard's boots, since the main AD now is basically Viego. Set will of course do some AD damage as well, but generally we should be not getting hit too much by Set, otherwise we would be in trouble regardless. Now here I see if we can get a pick onto the Victor. However, now Ahri is roaming up to try to help out with the fight up top. Now I'm just trying to clear the wave a little bit, but we gotta move now. Now Viego ults into the pit here. We get the assist by hitting the W. And now Set is getting run down by my team. I don't have to waste my ult here. However, Victor is getting completely caught up. I'm in a really beautiful position to kind of cut him off. However, he doesn't die. So he actually survives for one eternity before we finally kill him. And then now Rakan is trying to survive. Ahri eventually gets the kill onto him. But Victor definitely survived for way longer than I thought there. I thought I was going to kill him with the auto, and then another auto, another auto, another auto, and he still didn't die. But he finally does go down eventually, and Rakan goes down straight after as well. Here I'm gonna take this opportunity to try to break open the mid tower. Now we can see Viego's missed there, so we're actually tethering to the other side. Nice charm by the Ahri onto the Viego. Viego now in about a spot of bother here. Now we are going to go in and go for the kill onto him. We eventually get him. But once again, he looked like he was going to die, but he did die for quite some time. So a little bit scary, these situations, but we eventually do get him.
Enemy turret destroyed.
So Dragon's coming in about 30 seconds. We're just clearing the mid wave. A little bit of a fight breaks out here. Rakan gets a charm onto me. But there's no real big follow-up there. Ahri goes down to Varus ult as well as the Set ult. And basically my whole team has died other than myself and Vi. So there's no real point continuing the fight or contesting the Dragon at this point, because I don't think it's going to work out. Now, however, Varus here and Rakan are basically pushing the tower by themselves. So I'm pinging Vi that I'm coming. And Vi goes in, I ult in to follow, we kill Varus. I don't think Vi ult was needed there onto the Varus. And here, I have a full stack lethal tempo at this point. I'm trying to kill Rakan. I get the kill onto Rakan. Now Set is on me. It's a 1v1. I don't think I win this 1v1. However, I'm trying to delay time for my Ahri and my Nami to get here to save me. I escaped the Set W there, and I managed to buy enough time for my whole team to arrive and to help me out, and the Set goes down, and the Viego ends up running into my entire team and is gonna die as well. So even though I couldn't kill the Set by myself, I was able to waste enough of his time such that my team was able to get in there and finish the job, and I didn't die, so that's really the best part of it. Now I see a very big wave in the top lane, so I'm trying to make my way over to farm that wave. Varus is going down in the meantime, and my team is going to be able to do the Baron immediately after, but of course I don't want all these minions to be lost to the to the tower, so I'm going to quickly clear them out and then head over to the Baron to help my team DPS. Now, of course, at this point, Vi has made it to the Baron, and this Baron should be secured. Rakan and Victor trying to contest, but the Baron is already gone. A fight is now breaking out with Mbessa already going down. Now, I'm trying to kite back, but I'm getting slowed here. So I'm going around the fight, see if I can help my team with my ult. I stand my ult to engage in here. However, I don't really think I want to do that. I think I want to kind of just run away, basically, and live to fight another day. And this is the opportunity I was talking about. I ult in onto the Rakan, going for the Viego next. Down he goes, and then the set. We cleanse out. Now it's Varus 1v1 with me. He can't kill me, so I am able to get the kill on him as well for a triple. And there's the opportunity I'm talking about, right? So that's one of the strengths of Kai'Sa, having that ulti to re-engage whenever you need to, as long as someone has applied CC onto somebody on the enemy team. You can always just ult back in and rejoin the fight, unlike other ADCs that have to either walk up or flash up, things like that. Whereas you don't have that issue. So here, unfortunately, I overextend a lot here, and I was trying to get the tower, but the enemy team is all respawned, and obviously they're all just gonna dogpile on me and get a free shutdown. So definitely that one was on me there. I'm not quite sure why I was so far up and kind of wasn't thinking, and just kind of blindly walked up and basically killed myself. So definitely a big mistake from me there. Giving away the shutdown and just randomly dying for no good reason here. Thankfully though, there's no real objectives up, and there's nothing for the enemy team to really do. Like, they can't really take our towers or anything like that. So while I do give them the shutdown, it's not the worst death in the world if you kind of look at it holistically. And now we're going to redeploy on the map. Victor is super duper overextended. He's definitely a free kill for us. He basically makes the exact same mistake that I just did. I hit my W, Vi ults him, I ult in, just full burst combo onto him, and he obviously goes down. So literally, he did the exact same thing as me. He walked all the way up to tier 2 mid tower alone, and whole enemy team dogpile onto him, and it's literally the exact mirror situation of what I just did. Now once again, not too much happening here, so we're just going to farm. Now we can see 3 people on the map. We know that only Varus is missing since we know Victor is dead, so we're just going to keep on pushing. Here, no reason to stop. Checking the enemy jungle, getting the jungle timers, and seeing if there's any counter jungling to be done. Now we can see Varus defending. Rakan is now coming, so it's time to leave. Now Rakan full combos onto us, however there's completely no follow-up. Now Viego and Set are coming as well. I start realizing this is a little bit of trouble. Now Nami's getting caught out. Nami tries to flash out but gets caught again, and I realize that I can't help her, so I'm going to blast plant over and escape instead. Now they did use Rakan and Set out as well as like Set's flash and things like that, so definitely a lot of tools used by the enemy team already. Viego out now used, so I'm trying to see if we can get back into the fight. Here we get the kill onto the Viego, and I ult into the back line for another kill. Now here I'm kiting away, flashing away. I'm trying my best here, seeing if I can survive. Now I survived for 1 eternity here. I thought I would die instantly, but I actually survived for like 2 seconds longer than I thought I would, and actually was able to get out quite a lot of damage, leaving only Rakan and Victor alive. Victor now 1 HP. Of course, Ahri and Mbessa both also 1 HP, so everybody's basically 1 HP at this point. And here's kind of where it gets interesting. They're both trying to back, but this bush must have been warded because Rakan belts forward and almost executes Ahri. However, Ahri now almost kills Rakan as well. TP comes in from Mbessa. Mbessa now chasing Rakan. Rakan ults over the wall. Mbessa tries to ult him blind, but unfortunately misses. Victor somehow is still here at 1 HP. Rakan now trying to save Victor. Rakan dies. Victor now getting chased down. Victor dies as well. And it just becomes an entire fiesta. Now the Dragon and Baron are now both up. And now with Victor and Rakan dying, it's now my team that has an advantage. Now Viego and Varus are now both going in. Mbessa goes down, Viego takes the body. However, Varus goes down, Viego dies as well. Now he's just Set alone in a 1v4. He's not going to make it out, and he goes down as well. Now, 4 of us are going to be able to do the dragon for free and deny the enemy team the Mountain Soul, which of course is not the most important thing in the world. However, of course, it's just not a nice thing to have. As a result as well, since everybody on the enemy team is still dead, we are going to be able to get the Baron. Now, I take the Hex Gate over, which allows me to go top lane and clear out at least partial portion of this minion wave before I make my way over to the Baron. Because once again, otherwise the minions are just going to die to our minions and the goal is going to be wasted. So I thought that was pretty important, and this should be a free Baron regardless. I don't think anybody's going to be able to steal it. Victor is on vision, Rakan is nowhere in sight, and we're able to secure the Baron. Now, I'm going back to that wave that I left just now just to continue farming the rest of it. Like so. And maybe we can push out the next wave as well. Of course, we should have almost enough to pick up the Riftmaker at this point. And we also have the Baron Empowered Recall. But since we don't have our item yet, we're just going to make our way to mid to join our team. Also to note is that we actually picked up a Stasis. I think Stasis is a very good enchant for Kai'Sa because when you kind of fly in and kind of find yourself in a bad position, after you get like a kill or two, you can pop the Stasis to wait for your cooldowns. I think that is definitely something that happens very commonly. And now with the Baron minions, we're trying to push all our waves in. Set getting completely caught out, has to flash out. Ari pushing in the bot lane, as Ambassador's pushing in the top lane, and the rest of us are kind of taking care of the mid lane. And here I finally have Riftmaker, so I'm going to back for Riftmaker. My team is not really pushing too hard at this point, so I'm just going to kind of slowly escorting the minions in on all lanes. So I'm trying to get a sneaky reset, and I'm trying to pick my team not to fight. However, to no one's surprise, a fight breaks out. So maybe it's a mistake backing there, because chance of fight happening is pretty high, so I knew that. So anyways, here I'm going to try to hit my W. Unfortunately, I missed. Now, at this point, most cooldowns of the enemy team have been used, right? So I'm just flashing in, seeing who I can take out at this point. So here I see Rakan. I'm just going to ult in on him, pop the Stasis to make sure I don't die. Victor doesn't target me because he probably auto-targeted there. Now he heals me back up. And only Victor is left to defend his base, which basically means at this point we are going to get the win, get the dub here. And as usual, I'm going to leave you guys with the stats. So thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.
Victory!